Hello, I'm John McAuliffe, and today I'm going to show you why the future of digital marketing is visual storytelling. Although the foundation of digital marketing is content, my argument is that it is not about content per se. It's about creating conversations from hotel to consumers, from consumers to hotels, and between consumers. And these conversations are increasingly being told less through text and more through visual. As social beings, we're drawn to interesting stories. When we find a compelling story, we instinctively want to share it. Traditionally in marketing, hotels fed stories to consumers. It was one way. Today, consumers share stories with hotels and with other consumers. I'm going to show you an edited clip of a virtual photo walk that was created by a photographer named John Butterell. He attaches his phone to his camera and takes people from around the world on his photo walks. The magic here that you will see is that from the day of John's first photo walk, he has inspired a community of tens of thousands of photographers that are now creating and publishing photo walks, and hundreds of thousands of consumers who regularly watch these videos.
The next day, we posted the video. People saw it and started sharing it. And photographers all over the world jumped on board.
So we're bringing lots of people around and giving them Hawaii view here. Oh yes, we have the sea turtles.
Look at this.
Oh my goodness.
We're in beautiful Cape Town, a couple of buffalo.
This is Utah Lake.
I'll be emailing you photos soon.
I never anticipated that so many photographers would give their time and feel so committed.
In a similar way to how John's photo walks caught on, we want to inspire consumers to create and share the stories of our hotels. From pictograms on ancient caves to children's storybooks to multi-million-dollar feature films, people have been using visuals to tell stories for ages. Stories are constantly being told and retold. Well, at least the interesting ones are. Yet we have become so focused on structuring content and having images follow a certain template that we've forgotten about the stories these images tell. Years ago, at an agency photo shoot, the creative director I was working with spent hours educating the photographer on the car we were shooting. After the shoot, I asked him why he spent so much time talking to the photographer. He told me he wanted him to develop a relationship with the car because to him, the car isn't the photograph. The photograph is the relationship between the photographer and who or what he's pointing his camera at. Freehand Miami successfully uses this philosophy to tell their story. All the images on their site are crowdsourced. They have not produced any of the visual content on their site, but they have curated it in a way that tells their story. The stories told on their site are just more interesting than many of the hotel sites that I've seen. And this is a hostel, a place where people stay at for $21 a night. Now look at this hotel, only 1 mile away. It's a stark contrast. The photos are, well, they're content. They are structured and standard. They don't share a story that helps me better understand how staying here will make my trip more successful. And the price at this hotel is 5 times more than at the Freehand. We all know Airbnb by now. They devote a lot of their page real estate to visuals. They understand that details matter and that people want to see what makes the places unique. The images are interesting and show off the personality or, quote, the story of the hotel. Also in Chicago, similar price point to the Airbnb property, again, structured, standard visual content. But there's no story. The photos have not been created or curated in a way that shares a story of the hotel. Today, most OTAs are asking for higher resolution images. However, most hotels' photos are low resolution. Booking.com, as an example, is offering a more visual experience to consumers for those properties that have high resolution images than those that do not. Why would Booking.com offer this enhanced display for those hotels that have quality images? Because consumers are positively influenced by bigger and richer visuals. I've always said the hotel industry could learn a lot from online retailers. Like consumers shopping for shoes, Travel shoppers want informative, interactive experiences to see the details of the products and how they will experience them. We need to move to visually driven experiences that are similar to successful online retailers. Meaningful stories reside at the hotel. Individual properties are telling more interesting stories of their hotel than is possible by brands. This Motel 6 is a deep-sea fishing nirvana for the sport fisherman. They capture that story through a video. The familiar voice of Tom Baudet explains how this Motel 6 will leave the light on for the avid fisherman. Motel 6, to their credit, is actually amplifying this deep-sea fishing story on their brand website, on third-party travel sites, and so are guests on TripAdvisor. We power the visual display of many of the largest hotel brand and travel websites. Our research reveals that more people view 10 or greater images per website visit than less. Besides the obvious facts that people want more images, this stat tells me that as people go through different stages of travel shopping, their hunger for content changes, demanding fewer images at certain stages and more at others. One thing holds true through all these stages: they're consuming visuals. And your story needs to be told that way. And guess what? Travel shoppers want to see your guest rooms. If you go to any of the largest OTA and hotel brand websites, you'll likely see an exterior shot first, then an empty lobby. Our data shows that exterior shots are 9th in the top 10. The content hoteliers are producing and the content shoppers want to see are disconnected. Guest room images are so important that they're viewed 2 times more often than the second most viewed image category, which is restaurants. The fact that restaurant images are the second most popular is interesting. Travelers are looking for more than a place to sleep. They're looking for an experience that includes the places they'll eat, what they'll find when they walk down the street, where they'll shop, and so on. Our data shows that people are consuming more hotel media on their smartphones than their computers. Visual stories must be both available and optimized. It is estimated that humans have taken 3.5 trillion pictures since 1826 and the invention of the still camera. 10% of those photos have been taken in the last year, and a fifth of that 10%, or 70 billion, live on social media. Both Facebook and Google Plus have moved to more visual designs, giving photos more page real estate. It's an example of how communication is shifting to a visual medium. There is no shortage of content. The challenge is curating it into interesting, snackable stories. Standard Hotels does an excellent job combining both crowdsourced Instagram photos with their own professional photography. On the gallery pages for each hotel, you see a running stream of Instagram photos along the bottom. Pinterest had 25 million users as of February 2013. Users spend hours pinning, liking, and commenting. Alt Hotels pins content about decor, fashion, and design trends on their colored theme boards. This showcases their brand story as having trendy, colorful, and stylish hotels. Photos and videos posted by guests act as reviews. Yet many companies fear losing control and having, quote, bad photos seen by consumers. But as I read recently, yes, a bad picture can put the consumer off track, but in today's world, travel marketers cannot avoid a visually intensive online strategy. Triptease is a travel review site that gets it. They believe that travel, perhaps the most photo-worthy of all pastimes, is overrun with dull, anonymous text reviews, and that photos are a powerful shorthand for our experience of the world. These things are reflected on their site, which is much more interesting than your typical text reviews. Hotel Tonight turns to their customers to take the photos for them. This way, guests are submitting photos of the features that truly matter to them and keeping the stories fresh and relevant. Of course, you don't have to create a story by yourself, as Google tells us here, and I think this quote says it all. We've gone from being exposed to about 500 brand messages a day in the 1970s to as many as 5,000 a day today. How do you make your property stand out in the midst of all that noise? Connect with consumers by telling a story. Connecting with guests successfully is not about content per se. It's about creating, curating, and amplifying short, powerful stories that interest, engage, and provoke consumers. So what do I hope I have inspired a conversation on today? Well, the first is that the future of digital is visual storytelling. Number two, it's not about content per se. It's about sharing visually intensive and interesting stories. Third, there is no shortage of content out there. Your supply is endless. Source images from your guests and curate them along with your content into snackable chunks of interesting stories. You'll gain both quantity and quality. And lastly, share your story by fostering and stimulating communication with consumers, by encouraging them to talk to you, to one another, to truly amplify your stories online.